The fallout from the midterm elections will hit Washington in the new year as Democrats take control of the House. And within weeks, we'll be into the presidential campaign with Democratic candidates starting to announce. But how certain is it President Trump will be the Republican nominee? Joining me now, Ohio's outgoing Republican Governor John Kasich, a Trump critic, whose name has come up as a potential challenger in 2020. Governor, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you, Chris.
So you've heard what we've been talking about this hour, the shutdown, the markets, resignations over the president's foreign policy shifts. What do you make of the situation in Washington right now?
Well, Chris, it's so much dysfunction, you know, and I was just saying to one of the people with me this morning as governor, you know, what if my communications director, half of my cabinet or even significant numbers of my cabinet started to leave? It would create great chaos. We'd have a great difficulty getting anything done, and it would communicate chaos throughout the state and in the legislature, whatever. So it's very disturbing, and you know, the implications of what all this means long term for our foreign policy, for our domestic agendas, is really up in the air. It concerns me a great deal.
But President Trump campaigned on building a wall. He campaigned. He promised the American people that he was not going to keep troops. In fact, he was going to pull them out of endless wars like Afghanistan. Isn't he doing what he told the American people he would do?
Well, Chris, as you know, a president just can't get everything they want any more than a governor can get what he or she wants. And the fact of the matter is, I don't understand why he didn't make a deal. In other words, give me a couple billion for the wall, which was more than, you know, than they had previously been agreed to. And in exchange for that, we allow the DACA people to stay, and the people who didn't come here any other way but on their own, to be able to stay in America and not be given the threat of being deported. That's a deal that maybe they could get, that he would get. And I don't know why he hasn't done that. That makes an awful lot of sense to me. In terms of Syria and troops, I think what everybody is objecting to is the precipitous nature, not informing your allies, not talking to the people who critically we need in this world. And but let's also face in Syria the fact that that whole operation has been a mistake for many years. The Obama administration ignoring the red line was a disaster. We've lost influence in Syria, but the precipitous nature of that withdrawal without finally defeating ISIS or making sure they can't reformulate is a terrible mistake.
All right. Let's get to the main course here. There's a lot of speculation on whether or not you're going to take on President Trump in 2020. And here's what the president had to say about that.
I'm going to bring up John Kasich, and I'm going to bring up Arizona Senator Jeff Flake, because they say they may run against you in 2020.
I hope so.
What do you say to a Kasich or a Flake?
I think they have the greatest base in the history of politics.
So, will you run against President Trump either as a Republican in the primaries or as an independent?
Chris, as you know, all options are on the table, and we look every day. I have a team of people who look every day at the factors that go into a consideration like that. And, you know, we assess it, and at some point I will make a decision, and I'll give folks full disclosure about how I arrived at a decision and what it is. But at this point, again, all options are on the table. I want to finish my job as governor, and have a few weeks left, and then we'll see what develops, you know, in terms of the politics in our nation. Look, what I'm most concerned about, Chris, is having a voice. You know, when you look at Secretary Mattis's letter, I have been saying this now for almost 2 years. You can't ignore your allies. You cannot just do things on your own, America first. I've been saying for 2 years that it doesn't make any sense to just engage in trade wars, particularly with our friends. I mean, a lot of the things you're beginning to hear from other Republicans now are things that I've been saying for almost 2 years. And what I'm really concerned about is the division in this country. I don't like that. I know people have very serious problems. I grew up in a neighborhood where I understand the problems of people who have been left behind. But you can either tell them that they're the victim of somebody else, or you can tell them, yes, you have a problem and we can fix it. Let's think about Ohio for a second. You know, the Republicans lost in Illinois, they lost in Wisconsin, they lost in Michigan and Pennsylvania, and they won everything in Ohio because we've had a program of hopefulness, up jobs, including people who have traditionally been ignored. That's the roadmap. And so I'm positive about the fact that we can help people including the people that live in Lordstown where GM announces a plant closure. I try to give them the hope that we can see a better tomorrow.
We got a couple of minutes left, and I want to do like a lightning round. Would it be fair to say that the idea of running for president is under active consideration?
Yes.
You can go on a little longer than that. So active.
Well, look, we just have to assess it and whether my voice can help this country. And like I say, all options are on the table. But I'm a Republican. I'm proud to be a Republican. I'm concerned about my party. They got smashed in the midterms because I think they moved away from the roadmap that my team created here in Ohio.
Okay.
So, yes, we are actively thinking about it, but I can't tell you when exactly. We'll make a decision, but we'll let you know.
Will it be, would you run as a Republican or might you run as an independent?
If all options are on the table, Chris, that means they're all on the table. And we just have to see the development here. That's the only thing I can tell you at this point. I'm not trying to be coy. We are seriously looking at it. My folks talk and meet every week about it, the people that are involved with me politically. And, you know, at the end, I'll make a decision.
Do you think that you could possibly beat Donald Trump in Republican primaries? He's got tremendous approval among people in his own party.
Well, Chris, look, one thing that we know from your panel is every week it's a new story. We don't know what things are going to look like in the next month or the next 2 months or the next 6 months. We just don't know how that's all going to work. So the way we might look at it today is well, frankly, you can't look at it today. You got to think about what it's going to look like somewhere down the road.
Well, you say down the road, and that's my last question in this area, which is there a drop-dead date that you feel you have to make a decision?
No, we don't feel that there is one. We have to see what the circumstances are. And again, it's about my being able to have a positive impact. If I assess that I would have a significant positive impact in helping the country, that's one thing. If I assess it and think, well, maybe I won't, then it leads to another decision. But it's way off at this point.
Okay.
We don't know.
Less than a minute left. And right now you're in a veto fight with your own Republican legislature. You vetoed a bill that would have allowed abortions when people can hear a fetal heartbeat. You also vetoed a bill that would have given gun owners more rights, which raises, I think, the bigger concern about you politically, which is, are you too moderate for today's Republican Party?
Well, look, first of all, I've signed a lot of pro-life legislation in this state, so that's a fact. And I don't want to see pass something that I think would probably be ruled unconstitutional. Secondly, I'm for the Second Amendment. But let me tell you this, Chris. If you see somebody who's unstable in your business or your family, and you think they pose a threat to people around you, and you can go to court, then I think their gun should be taken. That is not against the Second Amendment. That's common sense, and I can't get that done, and I'm not signing anything else until I can get that done.
Governor Kasich, got to leave it there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy holiday. See you soon.
You took it all away from me. Thank you. Same to you and your family.
Sir.